Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at the state of the game, and we're going to be looking at some really cool things that are being added. Now, I will take my time to go through these things. I'll share my thoughts along the way, but there's something that I really want to talk about more than everything else. But let's quickly jump into the highlights. For those of you who missed out, they're trying to fix bugs. They're trying to make gear understanding simple. Pretty much they want to make gear like similar or close to the Division 1 as, because Division 1 already had everything good, in my opinion. They've tried other ways. They seem to have, failed. And I think now they're probably going back to, let's go back to what works and let's kind of keep things in that same sense. Now, some of the really cool problems that, some of the really cool solutions that they're bringing are to address these problems. There are 5 of them that are listed here. And this pretty much says at a certain point, getting usable things feels too rare. Pretty much gear right now is just not good. You're picking up stuff that, has 2% this and 3% that. And it's not going to help you if you continue to pick up items like that. Even though they do targeted loot and you need a pair of knee pads that have one stat, what's the point in getting 20 of those knee pads when none of them are going to give you anything because of stat allocation? This says, the second thing says, item stats, talent availability, and other factors are not always easy to understand. Players end up getting too many items to store. Players are getting too much of everything and not getting any trade-offs, and you don't get to see max rolls anymore. So the rush of seeing max rolls, that excitement is not in the game, which is a very critical part that made people play the game. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to do a no budget system to actually address this so-called trash loot. So all items can now be rolled at max. So, I don't know how that's going to be implemented. Maybe they will drop randomly and you can recalibrate to get more stats on there and get maximum of something, but still get a trade-off. So say you get an item that has the maximum weapon damage rolled on there, maybe it'll have low skill and maybe, another lower stat. So you have to choose and say, okay, where do I want to transfer the max stats to on this item piece? I think that's what I'm seeing, because from the pictures that they've shown, they don't really seem like you're going to get everything rolled 100%. But that may also be the case when we actually see this whole thing drop. You never know. Now, another thing they wanted to also do is they wanted to make brand bonuses aligned with real play styles that the developers have seen players using. So they're going to revamp low popularity brands, and they're going to be making them better. So I think this part here, this new brand bonuses is supposed to synergize with these build defining talents. So talents will amplify your gear's stats. So this does so, that is by increasing total weapon damage. Maybe while in cover, the new approach to talents will remove requirements and limit talents to appearing on backpacks and chest pieces. Talents themselves will become more powerful and enable players to create builds around key talents. This is a very huge change. Whether it's good or bad, I cannot say right now, but let's look at some of the build defining talents that they actually have here on the state of the game. Now, this is something that I know for sure, is definitely going to change the game. Now, if you look very closely, your Healer Guard has 5% total armor, 8% health, and 10% armor regeneration. Now, if you guys notice, there seems to be, some changes. Look at Circle of Concern. Circle of Concern now has, according to this dev build, things may change. 10% SMG damage, which it normally has, 15% crit damage, and 10% crit chance, which is really nice. Look at Circle of Concern getting some love. And then look at Murakami now having skill damage, 10% repair skills, and 10% skill duration. Maybe that's something that skill power players can actually work on. But then you look at the core attributes, which is very similar to your main attributes in the Division 1, and look at your attributes, where you have 2 regular attributes, which are also similar to the Division 1 in a sense. I think Division 1 had like 3 minor attributes or something, and then you have an empty mod slot, okay? Now, the mod slots that you have here can, take mods to give you some kind of extra benefit, but this largely is supposed to be where we're losing talents on gloves, on masks, and holsters, and knee pads. We're going to be getting these numbers and these stats and these new brand bonuses, including these talents, these newly revamped talents, to make up for all that. So now, I know many people have said, are we going to have to lose all our builds and the power of our builds? Largely, you're not going to lose the power and the efficacy of your build. You just have to build differently to achieve that same kind of power. But now you have trade-offs. You're not going to be able to double dip in multiple cookie jars and be an amazing gunman and a glass cannon and a skill destroyer all at the same time. So if you look at the way this works, it says this talent is called leadership. A cover to cover grants 20% of your armor as bonus armor to you and all allies for 10 seconds. Having this plus having armor regeneration, which can be max rolled, and then having maybe hazard protection, which is also cool, and having a core attribute of more armor makes you always almost want to just look and say, you know what, I need to probably spec to a tank and give my team some more buffs. Somebody in the State of the Game chat today said, no one's going to use cover to cover. And I said, it appears you didn't use Nimble in the Division 1. And they were like, only 7 people use Nimble. I'm like, they nerfed Nimble because people cried in PvP that Nimble was too much. A content creator here on YouTube made a PvE video and cried about it, and the developers nerfed it. I can show you this video if you want. Still salty a little bit. I'm still salty about that change. Now, you can also see that this companion, while you're within 5 meters of an ally or skill, total weapon damage is increased by 15%. So there is a trade-off. That 15% that you usually used to get on your chest piece, and then maybe if you had like a Fenris chest piece, you know, you could get all this other fun stuff. We don't even know what kind of brand set is this. Maybe you can get Companion now on your chest piece or on your backpack, or maybe you can synergize something like Companion with your weapon damage. And then with skills, I would just pretend like skills don't exist, because trust me, I have no clue what they do with skills in this game. They change it so much, I cannot understand what's going on. So my expertise stops just short of looking at the brand set bonuses and looking at the talents. Now, for those of you who are skill power people, you're probably frothing at the mouth going, this looks great or this is bad. Now, I have seen a lot of skill power people say this seems like it looks like a good thing, but I'll reserve my judgment until I'm able to get more information. I'm looking at you guys, Clint. I'm looking at you, Patrick Wolf. Anyways, back to the State of the Game, highlights, and then I'll give my opinion at the end of all of this. So backpacks and chest pieces are the only ones that are going to get talents. And now what you're going to have, even with named items, what they're going to have is they're going to have max level attributes and all that good stuff. So what do we see here? We're going to see a big revamp in our brand sets. Many people have asked, are we going to have to refarm everything? I don't think so. I think a lot of your gear will be converted. Like Dave said, your gear will be converted to the new system, but there's also going to be a power cap. So I think our gear score is most likely going to be increasing. So that will give a lot of play time. People are going to be looking for items that, match the current items that they have, or items that match items that they're looking for in a higher gear score. There's also going to be content and new items to try to achieve while increasing your gear score, so it's not going to feel like an empty journey. And then final thoughts in all, I just want to say that I feel like this is a very good adjustment. These changes are actually pretty good. So far, so good. It seems like this should have been what the State of the Game opened up with last week. There would have been a better community sentiment, but, many of us said, it was a downer, but no need giving up. I said before that I'm not going to quit this game. I'm going to continue to just press on, because that is what the Division community is about. We will ride the rough waves. I mean, I even went ahead and got another Division 2 copy on a different account, and I'm sure other people have probably done the same thing, even on different consoles and different platforms as well. So this isn't something that, we just want to just throw out the window. The Division community is a community that, yes, we will voice our concerns, but at the same time, we will sit there and watch as long as we see that somebody is talking to us. We may want things to come quicker. Like I would be the first to tell you, this State of the Game should have been last week's State of the Game. Even at a minimum, showing one aspect of something like this may have worked, and then this week bring in a bigger package. But at least the developers and the designer in charge said, hey, we're going to be bringing in next week So I'm glad they made that communication. They set the expectation and they dropped the content. So I guess we can all say, let's write off all that stuff. We're moving forward and it's a good change nonetheless. Now, it comes down to people saying, it feels like all our builds are going to be changed once again. And is this the pattern that we're going to continue to set, which is a very valid concern. The developers have made multiple updates in terms of gear reworks to this game. Now, in all those reworks that they've made changes that are so drastic. They've moved where you can have gear, you can't have specific, talents on specific brand pieces. All these changes have been changes that made it kind of seem like they didn't really know exactly how to work things in place, because PvP continues to scale out of hand in the Division 2. Like I've said before, PvE, the only satisfaction that many PvE players want with their gear is being able to max out their entire builds. That's all PvE players want. It's the only thing that that many PvE players want in terms of their own gear, be able to build and min-max. Now, in terms of PvP though, if somebody builds and min-maxes and has some advantage over another person and the person doesn't have that advantage, then there's a problem. And now with the way the Division 2 is, somebody can have all that armor and still have the capability to be able to take somebody out because they have a shotgun or because they have another thing. So there is no trade-off, if you understand what I mean. And that's why I told you guys that trade-off statement is directed towards PvP. A lot of PvP players may not have seen it. They may have missed it. But I think that's where it's directed at. But we'll have to see where it lands overall. And so, in my judgment, I think this state of the game was one of those 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 state of the games, the kind of state of the games that we need to see. Even though everybody would not be happy with these changes, I have to still say, these changes can only be acceptable with content, replayable content, and rewarding loot, which they did mention was what they wanted to couple it with. Only then would I say we can accept a change like this, because if you look at the past changes, there was basically almost nothing to farm for or to find. Now, there were a few things. There was Sawyer's knee pad. I'm not going to take that away from them. But at least, there were the linear missions as well, the Pentagon and all that stuff with TU6. But at least we know now that we're most likely going to be getting a fresh ideology of content, which I hope that they take the ideology of content from the Division 1, stuff that you can play again. If they're going to bring survival back, people will play survival in this game. I know many people said we didn't play survival in the Division 1. I guarantee you they bring it to the Division 2, repackaged with some sandstorm or some kind of agenda, and you will play it and you will most likely enjoy it, because it will take you back to the base core level of you being subject to the elements, which is something that they also have to try to do. They have to find a way to make you subject to all the different elements, if they're even going to bring it, or if not, they have a hardcore type mode. They have all kinds of fun stuff that they can actually put out there. So I guess I'm going to stop this video for now. We'll discuss more as we go on, through, the changes, and maybe if we get to another state of the game. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for your time and audience. Peace.